Welcome to the In My Opinion show with Ronald Berry Robinson and friends, seen on the internet 24 hours, 7 days a week. On popular sites like YouTube, Ustream, Facebook, MySpace. Type in the In My Opinion show on your search engine to view. The In My Opinion show is also seen on Comcast Cable Television, Channel 17, Flint, Michigan, every Saturday at 6 p.m. and every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. The In My Opinion show is seen on Comcast Cable Television, Channel 68, Detroit, Michigan, 7 days weekly. Please consult your community calendar. First, I'd like to introduce my co-host. We have Miss Denise Smith-Allen.
Hi, Ronald.
Hi, how you doing? Okay. We have Mr. Henry Hatter.
Hi, Ronald and Denise.
How you doing?
Welcome all
Henry?
to the In My Opinion show, as well as our millions of viewers worldwide. Let's talk about the bridge to Canada. Michigan Governor Snyder says it's essential. He lies. More than 1 million people say no. Snyder says it won't cost taxpayers anything. The Canadians will pay for the bridge. He lies. But what Snyder is not saying is it will cost the American taxpayer over $100 million a year to cover the cost of covering the auto truck complex with taxes, insurance, payrolls, inspections, customs agents, and repairs. Do you think we need a new bridge to Canada? Homes, businesses, churches in Southwest Detroit must be raised to accomplish the construction, which raises the cost of more hundreds of millions of tax dollars, because this property is going to have to be bought. Mr. Hatter, what do you think?
Okay, are you sure you don't want Denise to go before I do?
No,
I'll take my chance.
Take your chances.
Ronald, I'm amazed that many people know nothing about industrial activity and the growth of jobs and what's required for jobs to grow in Michigan. I agree with the governor. Now, the bridge is going to cost $13 billion. The old bridge that exists there needs to be torn down. It's becoming unsafe. And the opponents of the bridge, of course, a big share of that is the owner of the bridge, who is encouraging a lot of dissent on the building of the bridge. Now, there are two issues very important here. One is the safety of the bridge, and the bridge needs to be replaced. The second one is the cost of the bridge. As I said, $13 billion is going to be its total cost. 80% of that is going to be taken care of by Canadians. They will build the docks, and they'll build the platforms, they'll build the surface areas for the bridge. They'll do all of that from the east side of the river, the channel, to the west side. That means down to the plaza. They will put up $5 billion up front, and they will pay their other obligation over time. Now, Americans are only obligated to pay for the cost of the plaza, which is $800 million on the American side. That means they will build a plaza and all of its parking lot, all of this enhancements to the plaza that makes it work. And then the Americans, the money that they get on a toll, will retire that debt of $800 billion. Taxpayers pay nothing. Michigan taxpayers pay nothing because the money comes out of the federal government grant.
Well, now, I have a problem believing that, because just the other day, all right, I was watching Canadian broadcasting station, all right, and several of the prime ministers from Ottawa, Canada, all right, that's their Congress or what have you, all right, they said that the Canadians aren't going to pay for that bridge. Okay? So now I guess my next question is who's telling the damn lies? Is it Snyder or or is it the Canadians?
Right.
All right?
Right.
Now I've been to Canada a million times, probably not a million, but
You're
thousands of
Canadian
times.
too, aren't you?
All right, and I don't really see the need. You know what I mean? Of a bridge. Yeah, I understand commerce and all this and that. Okay, but now you got 3 different avenues to get over there. All right, you got the tunnel, you got the bridge here in Detroit, and you got the one in Port Huron, Sarnia.
Time is money.
All right, that's true. That's true. Then you have the train. All right, that runs under the Detroit River. All right, you have shipping. Okay, which is probably it takes a little longer, but I think it's deeper than that. All right, I just think that Snyder doesn't want the person that owns that bridge, Manny Maroon, okay, to have sole ownership, okay, of it. Mm-hmm. That's my feeling.
And that
all
could
right?
be.
Okay.
And governments have a right to cross international waters.
You see, so
You know.
what I mean, you got several different avenues for commerce.
Yeah.
All right. So why should the state of Michigan undertake this, knowing from Jump Street, if what you're saying is correct, all right, take on this extra added burden.
It's not a burden for the Michigan taxpayer.
Oh, sure it will.
No, it's not.
They'll have
Based
that.
upon-
They'll have that shit hidden somewhere.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Well,
It's sure as we're in the studio right now.
But what is developed already, excuse me, Denise, what is developed already, all the numbers are developed. And I understand that part of the approval process has been undertaken. And I think it now awaits only the governor's signature, right? But yet there are the dissenters who say, well, the governor can't do that. And the governor and his adversaries will have to take that to a court and get a court ruling.
Exactly.
And I think it's going to be on the ballot,
Mm-hmm.
and that may be part of the solution. It doesn't matter whether it's going to be on the ballot or not, but however that comes out is going to be the right thing for Michigan.
Yeah,
Even
well,
if it goes
that's
down.
an easy, to me, that sounds like an easy out, because I think the stories that we're getting, okay, so there's an ownership, an individual ownership, and our governor he's a businessman. So, life after being governor is still going to be something he's going to be concerned about. So I believe that there's some kind of profit in this, whether it's for him directly or some of his associates or thing of that nature. It's unfortunate that other options had not been looked at, or at least has not been discussed openly in terms of repair of a bridge. If you already have a bridge, what purpose does a new bridge have? Seriously, what purpose does it have unless there is some financial gain somewhere along the...
Oh, Denise, bridges have flaws in them. Bridges,
Certainly they do. But what about repairing them?
But the lifespan of a bridge is just like our bodies. They wear down. They wear out. Mm-hmm. Just like the steel that supports that span across the river, it fatigues and begins to sag. It rusts. It oxidizes. And so eventually they'll have to replace the bridge. They'll have to do complete demolition and start all over again. It's just the way things are. Things over time wear out.
So next they'll be saying they'll need another bridge to the Upper Peninsula.
Oh, that's coming some one of these days. Mm-hmm. But it's just like with the San Francisco Bridge, and I think the Brooklyn Bridge is the oldest one in the country that has not been replaced yet. But those bridges require lots of, and you got Americans that drive on them.
Right.
We have confidence and faith in those bridges. Mm-hmm. But we don't want it to happen what happened in New Orleans a couple of years ago when the bridge collapsed and lives were lost into the deep. Mm-hmm. Remember that? You don't remember that?
Was that in New Orleans? I thought it was another state.
Was it Minnesota?
It was something like that.
Well, one of those states, and I believe it did happen in New Orleans as well. It's not the first time that a bridge has fallen.
Well then, if we're so concerned about bridges falling, then to hell with this bridge to Canada. Let's start. If we're going to be spending all these millions of dollars, let's get these bridges fixed in the state of Michigan.
You know what those millions of
You know what I
dollars
mean?
do? They create jobs.
Well, okay, fine. Then let's
They
create
create
jobs at all of these
jobs.
bridges around the state of Michigan and get those in order first.
Well, we got to bring in new sources of money. We got to bring in money from outside the country to increase available money to do all the things that
Henry, you already have 4 or 5 different outlets, to bring this stuff into the country or to take the stuff out of the country. You got the train tunnel under the Detroit River. You got the bridge over the Detroit River. You got the tunnel over the Detroit River. You got boats. You got barges. All right. You got the Blue Water Bridge in Sarnia. Okay. You got other spots up in New York State.
The other thing, Denise, how can we think that this is a conspiracy by a businessman to earn more money? It ain't worth it for him.
Somebody's gonna make him money.
No, we should not go there.
Why
He
not?
is the governor of the state of Michigan. He has a job to do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he will do that job the best way he can with the knowledge that he has. And one of the things that he believes is that bridge will stimulate economic activity. We complain all the time about not having jobs, sufficient jobs for all of the people who are laid off, the poor people, and so on and so forth. I don't remember how many thousands of jobs that would be created by building those plazas down in Detroit, but that's a substantial amount of money. Then we have money that other people can pay taxes into the coffers to support education and to support health care and all of that stuff that we need to be supported. We need jobs badly. And this is the way of doing it. This is a perspective. It's not the only perspective.
Okay, but Henry, the question is, so we're talking about jobs in terms of for the construction of the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
And
what other avenues, what other resources are going to be developed from that?
Maintenance, shops, stores, restaurants, you name it. It'll
Okay.
stimulate a lot of activity for the small business entrepreneur
In Michigan.
in Michigan.
In Michigan.
In Michigan.
Okay, but yet this bridge is going over to Canada. So there's going to be some stimulus.
Yeah, mutual
Okay.
construction over there for the same thing.
Okay, but what about the thousands of people that are going to be uprooted in Southwest Detroit?
Well, that's progress, I guess. And besides,
So just to hell with,
yeah.
so just to
Urban
hell
renewal,
with the
Urban-
people.
And that's been planned. They already got those places already cleared out.
Not quite.
But most of them are. They've been doing that for years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, this is a plan that's been in the works for a long time, Ron.
Well, I hope, in my opinion, when the voters go to polls, if the court approves that on the ballot, all right, that I hope people will say no to this bridge.
And I'm hoping they say yes, Ron.
Okay.
Well, I'll just say this: urban renewal also means Negro removal.
Exactly. Well, in South Detroit, it's Hispanic, Mexican removal.
Okay.
All right,
Minority removal.
Well, they will benefit by this because they know how to go out and enterprise. You'd be surprised though, those people live in those small, quaint communities or.
Don't stereotype them.
No, they will know how to make money. You don't have to tell them how to make money.
But
They will know how.
Mr. Hatter loves Hispanics,
Yeah.
as well as we all do. Okay? All right, I just saved your soul.
Thank you.
Don't go to Mexican town. Any more comments on the bridge to Canada?
No.
Well, Ron, I think that people will get a better view of this after we debated it from both sides of it, and hopefully they will learn something about it, and they'll go out and do their own research to find out what the truth is, to help create jobs in their own accord. Not to have somebody else just go out and do it, but you must decide among yourselves, if you have to vote on this in November, what is the best avenue to create jobs in Michigan. And consider the bridge as only one component.
Okay, well, let me throw this in the mix for to stir up the pot here. The bridge is owned by a company owned by a person by the name of Manny Maroon. Now, is this an Arab name? Italian?
I have no idea.
What do you think?
I think it sounds like it could be Moroni. Yeah.
So maybe is there a bit of, I'm just asking, do we have a bit of racism in here as far as this bridge is concerned?
Don't go there, Ron, please.
Okay. All right. Just throwing that out there. All right. Anyway, we're going to change gears here. The poor could be strong. The poor could be strong swing vote. This is by Reverend Jesse L. Jackson. Nearly 50 million Americans now are in poverty. 1 in 4 children will grow up in impoverished households. Redressing poverty in a national emergency and a moral imperative. In our money-drenched political debate, the poor receive little attention. Yet they could be the key swing vote in this election. Mitt Romney invoked the poor as part of his attack on Barack Obama's policies, but his own agenda features devastating cuts in basic support for the poor: Medicaid, food stamps, Head Start, aid to poor schools, public housing, training. To help pay for another round of corporate and personal tax cuts, largely pocketed by the very rich. Democrats have historically been the advocates of the vulnerable. Social Security, the crown jewel of Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal, is the nation's greatest anti-poverty program, dramatically reducing misery among seniors. Medicare and Medicaid, centerpieces of Lyndon Johnson's war on poverty, have provided vital health care to the disabled, the poor, the elderly, and the dying. Yet now Democrats focus their rhetoric on the middle class and not on the vulnerable. Is a democracy standing up for the poor not only morally right, it can be politically powerful. Well, if the poor don't see the insaneness of what certain groups of people are trying to do to us, shame on us for allowing it to happen. Mr. Hatter, any thoughts?
Yes, there. First of all, government can only do so much. There's only so much money in the pot. Some of us are going to be rich. Some of us are going to fall in between. And some of us are going to be poor. That's the way societies structure themselves. And people, in the United States, you can still rise up through these ranks, from the poorest to the richest. You can do that in the United States, but you have an avenue. But in other countries, you don't have that avenue. So not all is left. And poor people are always going to be among us. The thing that we don't want to do as Americans is tear the system down, moderating it, and trying to change it in a way that everybody gets exactly what they want. And we spend all of the money we have to mediate between the people who have money and the people who have no money. That is the destruction of a democracy. Because you've got to recognize that there are going to be people who have less money, like myself. Now, I know that you live up on the hill. And it's always going to be that way.
Yeah, I wish I did live up on the hill. Oh. Denise, what is your thoughts?
Well, we're going to go stay at your house on the hill.
You live up on the hill.
We're going to stay at your house on the hill.
Well, might be on the hill, but there's no food. The lights are cut off.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess give me again your main question, because we kind of went a little over in terms of where we're at with this topic. I'm a little lost.
Well, it is. We were talking about the disparity between the rich and the poor, and how somehow poor people are going to be the margin of victory here for the next election. They expect to move out of the poor category to something else, but there's got to be a mechanism for that to happen.
Okay.
We're not prepared with a mechanism for that to happen.
Right.
Okay. So they're going to have lost expectations.
Right. Well, expectations is just it, because voting is a fundamental right, and we already know the history about us trying to establish voting, particularly for the black community and what have you. When the article comes out and it talks about poor people, see, there is a conception out there because it's through campaigning and what have you, they've put a black face on it, but there are a lot of whites that are poor in this country, and so. If you're speaking about, change and impacting on, moving one from a state of poverty to a state of, employment and self-fulfillment, it's a process. It's not going to happen overnight. People have a responsibility, number one, to educate themselves. And, even if they are not privileged enough to go to a quote-unquote private school, if you will, the public library is still one of the main sources of getting a lot of basic information, even information as it relates to candidates and platforms and agendas and things like that. So when a person is hungry and their lights are off, they're not thinking in terms of those kinds of issues. However, it's all related. And we have to help people understand that if you're not focused on how you're going to get your lights put back on or how you're going to be able to get meals and things of that nature, because everything is relative. Education, education, education. And empowering yourself. How do you do that? Because you got to surround yourself, first of all, with some good information. And you got to have people around you that are going to help with that process. Okay, so it's incumbent upon, again, shows like this, people who are community advocates, people who are working in an area where poor people are living. And I'm talking about all across the country, not just in Flint, Michigan, but everywhere, whether it's in Appalachia, where it's in the barrio, wherever it's at, there has to be a person or persons or groups that are committed to helping empower people. And understanding that your vote is just the beginning of the process. Tomorrow when you wake up after you voted, however you voted, that's not going to be the magic potion that's going to push you out of poverty. You still have some things that you have to do for yourself. You still have some things that you have to do for your family. You have some responsibility here. And then you have to help those people that you have elected know what your concerns are by picking up the phone, writing a letter, doing an email, whatever it is that you can do to let your voice be heard. Because again, this is a process that's ongoing, and we have to help people understand what that process really is.
And the other thing I would add to Denise's remark, you got to look on both sides of the table. You cannot let one advocacy, you cannot let one political party address these concerns for you, because they're going to be negative. You got to go to both sides and say, hey, how can you help us solve this problem? As Denise said, you got to articulate the problem in a group-wise process first. You can't have 100,000 individual responses. You got to take and formulate those into one or two measurable things that can be done, and that is difficult. I have not seen that successfully done yet.
Well, how do we get these? Well, how do we get these kind of coalitions to work within each other?
We have to keep putting small groups of people together, because we can't do it for everybody. Too many people will not allow us to be successful. But what it takes are people like Denise and yourself and other people to take a look at it and formulate some strategy so that we can begin to meet the needs that are going to benefit our young people, or all people. But that's what we need. That's the formula.
Well, with the last 2 minutes that we got left, Mr. Hatter, how would you begin this process?
I'm glad you asked that. We've talked about that before. First of all, you have to choose people of means, if you can find them, if they're cooperative enough, that are African Americans. You have to choose them. Not Greek gods, but gods. But they have resources, and they can work in a group process. This is hard to find among African Americans. two pieces, with the resources and can work in a group process for common goals. And once you find those people, bring them to the table and ask them to look at ways, what do we expect from our kids who graduate in 2016? What should they be like? What should they be able to accomplish? What should be their futures? Stuff like that. You got to start with the kids. You got to start with benefits to children first, not ourselves, but the people who follow us. That's where you got to find two hard components: resources, and people who can sit down and work in a group process. And not a one party, but you got to have them from
it's bipartisan.
different,
Sure.
diverse,
Bipartisan.
diverse views, so that you have all of the views presented on the table. But the people have got to know how to work in a group process and know when you can't win anymore, when your argument doesn't resonate with the rest of the group.
Okay. Okay. Well, this has been a very interesting conversation. Unfortunately, these shows come to a close too quickly. But I want to thank my excellent technical staff, my wonderful and very intelligent co-hosts, Miss Denise Smith-Allen, Mr. Henry Hatter, and especially you, our millions of viewers worldwide. This is Ronald Barry Robinson and friends saying, for the In My Opinion show, until next time, stay focused.